Being highly influential is critical inside of your business, and you actually owe it to yourself to become extremely influential in your life and in your business. And you have it inside of you, but it's probably not developed at the level that you want it to be developed at. And we can't ignore this, right? Everyone knows that the more influential you are, the more money you're going to make. And there are certain things about influential people that they have that make them more money. And this is why my business has always done really well since the beginning, but it's growing at the rate that it's growing at right now. And I'm collapsing time. So when I started off this year at 100K cash months, we were doing 100K cash months also in 2023. But at the beginning of this year, 100K cash months, give or take 100 to 150K. And I shifted into 200K cash month, now going to 300K cash months and doing things like 100K cash in 10 days, doing things like really high cash days. On average, our normal day is anywhere from 9K to 25K cash in a day. That's not sales, that's cash. And when you become more influential, when you become someone that has power, charisma, the ability to persuade people, the ability to show up on camera and simply make a sale, you will find that you become magnetic to not only just tons of money coming in, because that will happen, but also to the dreamiest customers. I mean, the ones that you're like, you almost think that they don't want to work with you. You will become a magnet to those type of buyers. So let's talk about what actually makes someone influential and how you can do this. So someone becomes more influential when, number one, they are charismatic. A charismatic human being is so much more likely to succeed in this world because they're willing to put themselves out there and stand out from everyone else. Now, if you look on the online space, a lot of times what I see from people who are claiming that they're not making a lot of money is angry marketing, sad girl marketing, woe is me marketing, without even realizing that they're doing it. And they do this, are you ready for this? I'm going to blow your mind. They do this in such nuanced ways that they don't even realize that they're claiming the identity of being the sad, mean girl, angry, upset, victimized coach. And they do this through, here's how I know this. They'll make content that yells at other people in the online space. They'll make content that is relatable. So they make content that is not relatable in a good way, relatable in like a, I'm experiencing this problem, you should experience this problem as well. And they create little nuanced ways of messaging that allow their audience from a very, it's deep, it's very nuanced psychological level to think that you are a part of something else versus being in a league of your own. So you'll see content that looks like they'll say things like, this person thinks this, but I think this. Okay, but if they weren't even your competitors, if you weren't even in an industry, wouldn't you have just an opinion of your own? And it's very, very, very nuanced, and you can see it in different people's messaging versus them just being the authority, being the 1%, being the influential person. Because another thing about an influential person is that they don't care what other people are doing around them. They don't care how other people are posting. They don't care what they're saying. And the other fact about an influential person is that they are okay with being disagreed with. They are okay with being misunderstood, and they love criticism. They're like, oh my gosh, yes, criticism, amazing, bring it on. Why? Because they're so strong in who they are. And this is why I do so much of the strengthening work with my clients. That's one of the things I see from so many of my clients that have gone now to 100K months is what I'm so proud of is the power, confidence, self-respect they now have in themselves. That is the most important. And somebody who's highly influential in their marketing, in their movement, in their entire life, they're okay with being criticized because they know who they are. Highly influential people also really care about the people and what they're here to do. So often I'll go to someone's account who's making like 10K, 20K months, and I look at it and I say, you don't actually really care what you're here to do. Yeah, I like, because you're not that passionate about it. You're just kind of making content that's like, here's how to do XYZ, and then you're angry and sad, and you're not passionate. And then I go to one of my clients who's in the headquarters, the mastermind, private coaching, and they are like shouting it from the rooftops. They love their work. They're so detailed. They're so focused. They are influential people because they care about what they're doing. If you're not passionate about what you're teaching on, why are you teaching on this? This is why at Freedom Queen Live, I'm going to be teaching on building a high-end movement, because when you build a high-end movement, what happens is you are teaching based on something that is in your zone of genius, something that you're already amazing at, you're obsessed with it. It becomes so much easier to make money. I think about so many of my clients that have been with me since day one in their business, literally making no money. And when people ask me, well, how are they so successful now? They're huge people in the online space and industry leaders. They have their own businesses, their own leagues. I say it's because they've refined their zone of genius. They're actually the expert in the thing that they're teaching on. And then that makes them blow up even more. Because you can tell when someone is passionate about something versus someone is just doing something to get some clients. And so they're passionate about what they're doing and they really care about the people. That's something I hear all the time in Freedom Queen. When you're building a high-end movement, there's deep sense of importance in relationships, in the connection between you and the customer and the community at large. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be available. There's a very fine line between being friends and a raw community leader and being the actual influential leader that the people need. And so when you're influential in the online space, you can tell that there's a different relationship that's built with you and the customer versus other people and their customers. Now, we're not talking about high-end movements inside of this training today. We're talking about influential marketing and content, but it's a very important piece if you want to scale to $1 million years, multi-million dollar years, 100K cash months, 200K cash months, consistently at a very high level over and over and over again, and actually build a real business, something that you're so proud of. Influential marketing and content is a piece of this. So when you're influential, when you say something, people listen. So in your content and in your marketing, what does this look like? This looks like boldly claiming who you're here for and who you're not here for. So if all of your marketing, somebody lands on it, a piece of content, and it relates to every single person, you are not going to sign on a lot of clients. And can I tell you something? Since I've shifted in 2024, we have great engagement, but we have a very different type of engagement now that I've shifted to the person that I really want to work with. And so sometimes I see people say, okay, well, my posts aren't going as viral. My posts aren't getting as much reach, whatever. But are you reaching the right person? And people will see views and things like that and think that that's the thing that's going to make them money, but it's not. Actually, it's speaking to the person that they really, truly want to be working with as a client, as a mentor. So in your content, when somebody lands on it, is it very clear that you have one dream customer? Your client, your content should push people away. It should say to people, this is not for you. So in your content, are you trying to please everyone? When you go to make a piece of content, do you think of that person and go, oh, Sally's going to think it's about her? or whatever, or she's going to think that it's not for her. She's going to be offended. If Sally is not your dream customer, then you have to make that piece of content that is for the actual person you want to be working with. Now, the second piece in influential marketing and content is on your feed. You are boldly claiming it. This is a concept that I've talked a lot about with my highest level VIP clients, where I've spoken with them about claiming it over and over and over again. And this is a way of leadership, this is a way of identity, but this is also a way of writing copy. So in your content, when you add an edge to it, when you add oh my gosh, she just said it like in a hit. When you add that punch, when you add that feeling of, wow, like this lands inside of your messaging, people feel it. Now, why am I saying it's also from an identity sense? Because influential leadership affects your marketing. If you are already an influential human being, you think and feel and live this way, when you show up in your marketing, it's so much easier to write the content like this. So this would look like content that has a little bit more of a twang, a little bit more of a sass to it, a little bit more of a spice to it. And it's things that you really believe about yourself. So when I go to some people's content, it looks like they're apologizing. It looks like they're sad, angry, resentful. But when I go to other people's content, it's like, oh, you really own who you are. You own what you have to say. I can tell that you are confident and charismatic and passionate about what it is that you're doing. You're not acknowledging other people, right? So you're not doing the sad coach marketing. You're not resentful. You're not angry. You're not even relating to other people. Actually, you are operating in a whole other arena of your own. And when you speak like this, because everything you speak brings things into existence, it creates the reality. When you speak like this, people assume that you are creating something that is different from everyone else, that is not relatable, that is aspirational, and it's something they want to be a part of. The other piece of influential marketing and content is when you create a piece of content, it's not just in what you're saying and how you're saying it, it's in the actual delivery of the content. So this is something that I will also be teaching on at Freedom Queen Live. When you're making a piece of content, you don't just want this text on the screen, the actual tonality of the text to make sense. You want the feel of it to be in alignment and in context with what you're talking about. So I want you to think about your own unique brand that you own, your movement, and ask yourself, what would you create or videotape if you were being the most influential person that you know? Now, influence that we talked about is in your zone of genius. You don't care that people are watching. You're okay with being criticized. You're charismatic and you're excited about what you're doing. If you were to videotape yourself being highly influential, what would you be doing? What would be the most you video that you could create? Now, why is this so important? People feel you more than they hear you. And so if on your reel, as an example, you're doing like a 7-second video that has nothing to do with your brand versus you're doing something that is a piece of your company, you are going to, from a psychological level, burn into people's heads more than just a viral surface level video. This is really powerful, and it reminds me of, I made a video once choreographing a dance in my house in Thailand, this villa that we always stay in. And that one video never went viral, but it made me a lot of money because it was highly influential. It had all the characteristics of what I'm talking about here. And this has to be unique to you. So if you were to tap into your creativity, which creativity equals wealth, and the people making the most money, the reason why I make the money that I make is because I'm highly creative and innovative. If you were to create content that was unique to you, What would you be videotaping? What would you be taking photos of? What would you be capturing in your brand that lets your audience know that you are an influential person and the work that you do matters? And if you go to someone's feed and you can tell that they kind of half-assed their content, they didn't really put any effort into their videos, they're going to make less money because you can tell that it lacks what's the most important piece here: intentionality. Influential people are very intentional about what they're wearing, how they're perceived, how they're showing up, what they're saying, what they're doing. So if you want to become more influential, you need to think about, how are you being perceived on your feed? Do people actually know you? Are you doing any sort of talking videos? Do people feel you through your B-roll content? Or is it like, oh, you just had somebody do B-roll content for you and take a bunch of clips and that's it? Maybe you're not even meant to do either of those styles of content, and your zone of genius is something completely different. Like mine was, which was choreographing a dance. That's highly influential because it's highly intentional. When you are making this type of content, this influential marketing and content, I want you to focus on boldly claiming it. When you're making content, you're saying it with an edge. When you're delivering the content, it's in your zone of genius, meaning in how you deliver it. So what does that mean? So when you make a piece of content, it looks like this is in full alignment with you and who you are behind the scenes. So when you capture that video, it makes sense contextually for the brand that you're building. It's unique and stand out. And then I want you to look at your feed content and ask yourself, where are you pleasing people you don't even want to be working with? You're speaking to Sally, who's at level 2, when you want to be speaking to Sophie, who's at level 100. In your content, where are the actual ways that you're showcasing yourself boring, meaning in the production quality of the videos? And then where are you not claiming? Instead, you're apologizing inside of your content. So where are you saying things to people that maybe looks like you're apologizing to them, people pleasing everyone, versus saying you're in a league of your own. There's nobody else that exists. Like, what would you do and how would you show up and speak if no one else existed on the internet? What would you boldly be claiming about your body of work? And then what would you say to them? That is influential marketing. Influential marketing is you're activating people, you're claiming it, you're being extremely bold. And behind the scenes, here's the thing, what's the most important is that you are actually being that person. And that's why I do so much of the inner work with my high-level mastermind clients, because the inner work is who you are on the inside is just going to be reflected out in who you are on the outside. You see this play out all the time online. I can tell when someone's confused. I'm like, you're confused. You don't know who you're serving, what you're doing, who you're buying, what you're investing in. It's scattered. And a high-end movement is not scattered. Regular movement, regular coaching business is scattered. High-end movement is grounded in who you are. So, Freedom Queen, if you got value out of this episode, if you absolutely loved it, share it to your Instagram stories and tag me, and I'll see you at Freedom Queen Live.